And so we had to talk about the history of the use of rape as a weapon of terror against black women. That history goes all the way back to slavery. As a matter of fact, rape was as much a weapon of repression used against the slave community as was the whip and the lash and all of the other paraphernalia of repression. Black women were systematically sexually abused. It was assumed that the slave master and all of his agents, all of his white agents, had access to the bodies of all of the black women in the slave community. And if you look at the way many of us black folks look today, you can understand the degree to which this was so extensive. I mean, why do you think that we look the way we look? Between 1865 and 1895 alone, some 10,000 documented rapes occurred, as reported by Ida Wells, who, when in her community in Memphis, Tennessee, Ida B. Wells, of course. How many of you all know Ida B. Wells? Since this is Black History Month. Ida B. Wells is one of the great figures of our history, and as a result of the combined racism and sexism that generally characterize orthodox histories, her name is known by only a few people. Ida Wells was a newspaper woman who lived in Memphis, Tennessee. She had started her own newspaper, the Memphis Free Speech. When a rape occurred in her community, a lynching occurred in her community. 3 men whom she knew personally were lynched. The circumstances surrounding that lynching were very simple. These black men had opened up a grocery store in the black community. And black people started to go to the black grocery store as opposed to the white grocery store that had been operating in the black community. And those of us who are from the South know that virtually the only presence of white people in our communities were those who operated the grocery stores, the corner stores, the candy stores. I know for a long time those were the only white people I ever came into contact with when I lived in Birmingham, Alabama. But in any event, these 3 men bought and began to operate a grocery store, bringing business away from the white grocery store. The white men picked a fight with the black men. The black men knocked out some of the white men. They were arrested, and then a mob broke them out of the jail and strung them up on trees at the edge of town. So when this happened, it enlightened Ida B. Wells about the nature of the ideological justification of lynching that had been virtually accepted not only by white people but by some black people as well. That somehow or another black men were lynched because they were at least accused of, even if they were not guilty, at least accused of sexually assaulting a white woman. Here was an incident in which they had absolutely nothing to do with even the accusation of rape. So she began to use her newspaper as a way in which to speak out against rape, which led to threats on her life. As a matter of fact, Ida Wells had to operate for a long time her newspaper offices with a gun on her hip. That's the kind of woman she was. She did research, and she discovered that only about 16% of all of those lynchings even involve the accusation of rape. Whereas most people were under the impression that this is why lynchings occurred. Even though they might have been opposed to the lynchings, they felt that however horrible lynching was, rape was also horrible, so they could understand how men could be motivated to lynch as a result of the rape of white women. But this isn't what lynching was about at all. As a matter of fact, the myth of the black rapist was conjured up precisely in order to justify attempts to prevent black people from moving forward in the aftermath of the Civil War in the struggle for liberation and equality.